Hello, welcome to The State. On this show, we probe the issues and dig the solutions. We are glad you could join us. Thank you very much for always choosing to be with us on the show. My name is 𝗟𝗓𝗡. Stay for more details.
Oh yes, the solution to all your travel needs is here. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services offers you the opportunity to travel to the following countries: Canada, United States of America, Turkey, Dubai, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Malta, Germany, and other European countries, where skilled workers such as nurses, paramedics, nannies and caregivers, drivers, plumbers, masons, electricians, carpenters, painters, etc. are needed for urgent employment. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services can secure your Schengen visas with work permits. Individuals, organizations, churches, schools can contact us for their ticketing and hotel reservation, car rental services, international tour packages, travel consultation, visa assistance, and study abroad packages to all countries. We are located at Mr. Bates bus stop opposite the Calvary Baptist Church at Abaka, Accra, or contact us on these numbers: 0544-279525 or 0545-622-672 or 0302-237557. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 Lodge and Travel Services, your destination, our pride.
Welcome back. On The State, today we're looking at a very interesting subject, but let us settle for W Briefs. On W Briefs, what we do is to give you a sneak peek of the topic for discussion for the day. So the media plays a crucial role of watchdog, or of a watchdog in every democracy. Very critical role of that watchdog role that the media plays in every democracy. And journalists, editors, publishers are expected to operate without external interferences or fear of punishment whatsoever from any quarters. Journalists around the world face increasing risk ranging from threats, censorship, and violence simply for reporting the truth every day. There is that risk of that practice. In 2024, journalists had to pay that particular high price. 82 journalists around the world lost their lives in the course of their work, compared to the previous year, 2023, where we had 74 of them losing their lives. In Ghana, freedom of the press is guaranteed by the 1992 Constitution. So media outlets are free to operate any way and anyhow they like, of course, subject to regulation by the National Media Commission. That is it. So freedom of the press is guaranteed by under the 1992 Constitution. The 2019 law on access to information, popularly known as right to information law, demands that journalists, it empowers them to demand information of national interest. That is what the law empowers journalists to do. We journalists can demand information of national interest. However, storming of media houses by activists affiliated to political parties, assault on journalists who cover public events, and sometimes what has become a debacle, has become an albatross around the neck of most governments, is the brutal murder of Ahmed Hussein Swale. So some of these things, the storming, the assaults on journalists at public events, and Ahmed Swale's death has made Ghana's regional leadership in press freedom declined in recent time. It has declined. Journalists has also they've also been confronted with one form of frustration or the other, and the line of duty from government officials, from individual citizens. There is that frustration in the work of the journalists, and these attacks on press or the media professionals or journalists have often attracted outrage, outright condemnation from civil society organizations. This is not acceptable. That is what these organizations say. But the John Mahama-led government has assured journalists of maximum protection and to enhance the culture of freedom of speech and the media's ability to access information among the public. The new government is assuring the media that during my tenure, maximum protection for journalists. John Dramani Mahama's government. This assurance was given at the 2025 World Press Freedom Day celebration that was hosted by the Ghana Journalists Association over the weekend in Accra. And this year's celebration on World Press Freedom Day is under the theme Reporting in the Brave New World. Reporting in the Brave New World, the impact of artificial intelligence on press freedom and the media. So that is what 2025 Press Freedom Year or Day celebration is themed. So as Ghana joins the world all over to commemorate the 2025 World Press Freedom Day, we ask, how free is the fourth estate of the realm, as the media is referred to? How free are they in Ghana? We'll find out. Stay. Welcome back on the States or the show. Today we are looking at the World Press Day or World Press Freedom Day, which was earmarked or celebrated by the Ghana Journalists Association. And we've had incidents of recent times where media houses have been stormed by activists affiliated to political parties. We have journalists in the line of their duty in the midst of covering public events being assaulted, and we've had series of them, including murder, as we've recorded in Ghana in recent times. And our ranking as a leadership in press freedom in Africa has declined in recent time, and this calls for worry. So as we join the world, or as Ghana joined the world to celebrate this year's World Press Freedom Day, we asking that is the media in Ghana really free? Are we enjoying that freedom in the face of developing challenges? So this year the theme is looking more at artificial intelligence and its impact on press freedom. So we're talking press freedom in Ghana, and we're glad that you could join us. As always, we have the guests who are vexed with the subject matter to help you, the viewers, to understand and appreciate the discussion. We have, I don't want to call them future, but they are the present and future generations of journalists that we have in the country now, and it's going to blow your mind the perspectives they are going to bring on the discussion this afternoon. They are more than prepared to share with you what they think of the subject that we are looking at. Three of them, they are joining us via Zoom, and I would like to introduce them in no particular order. So we have William Evans Enkum, William Evans Inkum is the bureau chief for the northern sector of Media General. If you watch our sister station TV3, he reports from the northern sector, particularly in the Ashanti region. Evans, thank you very much for joining us on the stage.
Thanks for having me.
Great. We also have 𝗟𝗓𝗡. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 is a journalist with multimedia. Ima, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me as well.
So Ima will work as a line, and then he's with us also via Zoom. Then we have Philip 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘. Philip 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘 is an investigative journalist and a fact checker. That is 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘's job. He's a journalist, but he's a fact checker with the Media Foundation for West Africa. Media Foundation for West Africa. So we have William Evans Inkum from Media General, a journalist. We have 𝗟𝗓𝗡 with the multimedia, and we have Philip 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘 with Media Foundation for West Africa. He's an investigative journalist and a fact checker. Gentlemen, great to have you on the show. Let me start the conversation with you. Let me start with you, Evans. And that question, we're going to have the same question. I nearly said the same question attempted by all of you. I thought we were in an exam hall. So the same question addressed by all of you. William, World Press Freedom Day or Press Freedom, what does it mean to you? And then, so when you tell us what it means to you, then you tell us what the state of the freedom of the press in Ghana is. So, William, you can take the first shot.
Is how free am I when it comes to the expression of speech, when it comes to writing opinions, when it comes to reporting on developments across all spheres of life. So we're talking about political, social, and economic issues or issues emerging from these sectors of our economy. How free am I? Even accessibility to information. How accessible are information to me? And of course, actors involved in the information extraction. How ready are they when it comes to the delivery of even the mundane form of information? So if all these indicators are working perfectly well, that is, there's accessibility, there's no hindrances when it comes to the reporting on any subject of interest. People are really available to also divulge information to me, especially those that do not border on national security or cannot trigger anything that can cause instability as far as national integration is concerned. Then I would say that I am operating an environment that accepts my work as a journalist. Of course, as also enshrined in the 1992 Constitution of the Republic. But where there are barriers, where there are barricades, artificial barricades, then I can say that I wouldn't say that I'm operating from an environment that has embraced, press freedom and what have you. Then your second question, the current state. Well, I will call it a mixed bag. If I should go by the World Press Freedom Index, in 2023, Ghana was ranked 62nd. Last year, 2024, I think we improved from 62nd to 50th. Nonetheless, there has been pockets of violence against journalists. And sadly, these pockets of violence have been recorded. From the front of people that we say that have contributed to the steady growth of our democracy since we accepted it, a multi-party democracy in 1992. And then also, as a sovereign country, drafted our constitution, in which, or in that constitution, where we have freedom of the media. Of course, I quite remember in between 2000 and 2009, the former president of the Republic, His Excellency John Adjei Kufuor, even repealed the criminal libel law. I mean, that guarantee, I wouldn't say total, expression without fear of favor, but at least an improvement of how we should be able to execute, our job without any internal or external interferences. But it's rather unfortunate that we've seen some journalists, recording some casualties or being assaulted, in the line of duty, which is quite unfortunate. I just want to believe, yes, our democracy is steadily, even in advanced countries, you record that level of pocket of assault against journalists. That Ghana, as the Black Star of Africa, I think we should be able to lead and they'll set the pace for others to follow. I am a believer that, every day we learn from our mistakes. We are not operating in a totally free environment because, like I said, on occasions we have recorded, assaults on journalists. These things must stop going forward.
Going forward, very well. Thank you, William Evans Inkum. Emmanuel Bright Kweku. What does it mean to you, press freedom? And then what is the state from where you sit at the multimedia and in practice? Emmanuel? Okay, Emmanuel, can you unmute so viewers can hear you? Ima, if you can unmute. Okay, we will work the line to get Ima to get connected. Philip, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. For me, I understand that the World Press Freedom Day is an avenue where the work of journalists, the role that journalists play in our society, is a day that is used to really advocate and propagate the protection of journalists. Because what journalists do, if you are in a democracy and there is no democracy or there is no journalist to speak for the voiceless, to ask government activities, ask basic but critical questions, and we say we are in a democracy, there is no democracy. So for me, the World Press Freedom Day is a day that people really have to understand the work, or is used to advocate the importance of the work that journalists do, so that you don't go attacking journalists, because they are there to bring you the news. They are there to make the government better. When you see people attacking journalists, you are able to, speak for them and condemn it. For the state, I would say or describe it as something that I call repression, redemption, and then depression. Because if you look at the state of our media over the years, you will see that it was very worse at some point where Kwesi Pratt and Co had to go to jail and all that. And then later you saw our performance on the World Press Freedom Rankings. And then now this is where we are, where even this new government, under this new government from February to now, according to the press freedom analysis by the Media Foundation for West Africa, there have been at least 4 journalists that have been attacked. Those reporting on 𝗟𝗓𝗓, during the election of the Council of State members, a lot of journalists have been attacked. So for me, basically, this is the state that I feel like there have been, repressive regimes. There was a form of redemption where we all saw how we were faring on the world stage, and then now depression, because we should have done better than where we are now. Currently, as we speak, until 2023 and 2024, 2025, what is happening in Burkina Faso? Ordinarily, Burkina Faso came to pass by us when it comes to the freedom of the media, and that should not be the case. So this is what I think.
Very well, Philip. Ima.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, very clear, loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, so I would side with my colleagues and also say that the press freedom or media freedom, to me, is generally my ability to go out there and fetch the stories that I need, regardless of who it is. I report on them with my accuracy, with my credibility, without interference from whatsoever, even not from my media organization or even a government institution or any agency at all. And that to me is media freedom or press freedom. And so for the current state of the country's press freedom, as ably expressed by all my colleagues on the platform, and well, I would say that we are doing great as a country, but not so much because currently we are somewhere around the 50th position. I think in 2018 we were the first on the continent, and so you might wonder why we are now going down on a downward spiral on in terms of our media expression, our ability as the media without they being interfered by the government or being able to express willfully without any interference from the government. So for me, if media is not able to do their job as it is required of them, as we always say that we are the fourth arm of government or the fourth estate, and if they are unable to express themselves freely when it comes to matters of national interest, then definitely our media is going to be in trouble. Democracy, as we always tout ourselves to be the beacon of democracy in Africa, and Ghana might be on a tentatus as we speak now. So, and that for me is what I think.
Very well, Emmanuel. So, gentlemen, let me ask you. So let's talk about the safety and protection of journalists, because it was a theme that ran through your submissions, all of you. How safe and protected are you, the journalists out there? Definitely, we've recounted some assaults on you. This time around, I want you to be personal and real with us. So, Evans, in your line of duty, how protected are you? Maybe you can share an instance where you had to flee for your life, and then we know how serious the situation is. So, Evans, let me start with you. Safety and protection of journalists.
Well, so it is relative. It is relative in the sense that media general, we have a system in place where staff are protected, especially reporters on the ground. When it comes to the role that the employer has to play, that system is there. So, for instance, during the 2024 election, the company gave me a police protection. All the areas that I visited, I mean, polling stations that I visited to take a coverage of the 2024 elections, I had a police protection. That was arrangement made by the company. So in terms of the employer ensuring that staff are protected, media general is doing that. Now, I cannot say same for other media houses. That is why I said it is relative. But if a media company will have to spend extra in ensuring that the members are safe, that alone should tell you that we have a long way to go. It tells you that the environment is quite unpredictable, and so we just have to play safe as far as execution of duty is concerned, and also boils down to the fact that the question as to whether the journalist is safe in this country, maybe on paper, I mean, they will tell you yes, but in reality, it is a no. I mean, 𝗟𝗜𝗘 was killed, brutally murdered years back. I think it was only a couple of months ago that we heard that somebody perceived to be directly linked to the murder has been arrested and now facing the law. I mean, how many years down the line? There are a number of journalists who have been assaulted, but it has become quote unquote, excuse my language,
Very well.
as they
So
say
Evans,
in
so
formal,
Evans, is that Evans from your Evans, if you can hear me from your submission, well, your employer has done very well that in your practice, you are provided with protection or security of a sort. Very well, very well. Let me check with let me come to you straight. Let me do Emmanuel. Emmanuel, safety and protection in practice.
Well, I would say for media organizations, they are trying their best. For the employers that we work with, they are trying their best to protect the journalists when we go out there to report on issues that matter to the country. But the issue has now come with the fact that you would get threats even on social media, or even a personal call from somebody you do not know, and the person will threaten you because of the work that you are doing. I can recall that my colleague Rastus 𝗟𝗜𝗘, you know the extensive work he's doing when it comes to illegal mining in the country. There was a time somebody had actually written that I wish you were dead under his one of the posts he had made on social media. So when it comes to that, you sometimes wonder whether the job you are doing, are you doing in the interest of your country, whilst you are thinking about your own safety as an individual. So sometimes it makes it difficult. Sometimes some people would rather want their concerns or their interests actually being heard. So it boils to the fact that whether we being journalists, our lives even matter. Sometimes I always tell myself that journalism is not a crime. I came into this field, and I would say that I came into this field from a science background into this field. And coming in here, sometimes you wonder why, just because you're a journalist, somebody wants to kill you. Just because you're exposing the truth out there, somebody would want to wishes that you die. And that shouldn't be the case. So if our safety as an individual, even my safety as an individual, when I'm going outside,
Emmanuel, just press the pedal. Emma, can you hear me? There seemed to be an audio in the background, which is kind of disturbing now hearing you clearly. If you could work on
really?
it. Yes, we could hear an audio in the background making so much noise. So that,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
It's better.
Yes.
Let's manage for now.
That's
So
okay.
as I was saying, sometimes when you are going outside, your editor will tell you that go and bring the story. Don't go and be the story. Because sometimes when you are going somewhere and then you realize that your safety is being compromised, it's either you drop the story and then rush back to your newsroom, or it's either you, because you want to pursue the truth, you go out there, risk your life, and get the story to your editor, or you as an individual, the interest that you want to get out there. So generally, our safety as journalists must really be a concern. And I share with my brother from the Media General on the fact that even though the media organizations are now getting themselves policemen or officers to go with them just to cover a story that will interest the country, then it tells you that we as a country, we have a long way to go. If I am unable to go out there, get a story and talk about it anytime I want to, in the interest of the public, in the interest of this state, without getting threats, then it surely must be a concern to everybody out there. And so for me, I hope that something really could be done about our situation when it comes to journalists generally. Just because I am a journalist, just because I take my pen and write onto a paper, you want to threaten my life because I'm exposing you, I don't represent your interest, then that one must be a concern to us.
It has to be a concern. I remember my children asking me, especially how AIDS investigative journalists, and now remember how he's able to, is he free? Does he work in town? Then my girl asks, is it a crime to be a journalist? Why is it that you can't be free and work just because you are writing news? My little girl asked me that question. Philip, how safe and protected is your profession you are in?
Well, for me, I would say that it's not, as an investigative journalist, the system hasn't been free and fair. And you just mentioned, from the background of 𝗟𝗟𝗘𝗓 and all that, as threats is like a daily bread. I mean, from my experience as an investigator, almost all the stories that we publish. Anytime you publish a big story, I mean, you should anticipate threats, and if you don't take care, the probability that your security is going to be compromised is very high. I mean, when you were doing your introduction, you mentioned the introduction of the 𝗟𝗜𝗘 law, and then how it's in to help, you know, journalists and then the general public to hold leaders accountable. I use the 𝗟𝗘𝗘 law to do an investigative piece, which even won me the GJ Online Best Journalist of the Year last year. And when I sent a request to the DCE of that district asking for information, the DCE's understanding was that I had no right to ask for such information on government intervention programs. And it didn't end there. The DC was able to locate my family after threatening me and everything. Went to locate my family and threatened all of them. It even went beyond me. So you can imagine sometimes, like you said, your children were asking you. Sometimes when it happens like this, it's your family that you have. That even sometimes we have experiences where the community, the society you are fighting for, once it doesn't go their favor, sometimes they come against you. And sometimes largely it's your family that is there to defend you and then fend for you. So this DCU went ahead to threaten my family and all that. So you can imagine the extent. So if and those families are more like, you know, your soft spot. You imagine your father calling you and telling you that what happened, you should not do this again. It's a whole lot. And it doesn't end there. You publish a story and you are seeing faceless, you know, messages, you know, threatening you, insulting you, tagging you all over the place. And so it doesn't be safe, and because you don't know who is watching, you don't know where you are and all that. So for me as an investigative journalist, the system hasn't been free for me at all, because anytime you publish a big story, you know, there is a problem. So without that political will or that constitutional will, that strict implementation to say that don't go after any journalist, you know, and then when you go, these are the clear demarcations that you don't have to cross. When you say this to a journalist, it means a threat. It means you're harassing him or her, and these are the consequences. If not, they will continue to threaten us. But despite all this, I mean, we are able to, you know, investigate our stories, put out there, because the people are there, and then the resources are small, but not all of them are there to protect it. So there must always be somebody trying to hold these people accountable for a better society.
Better society, so that we get a clear up and a full picture of what really is happening there. Viewers, if you are just joining us, this is The State, and we are looking at World Press Freedom Day. World Press Freedom Day that was hosted by the Ghana Journalists Association, and we have been in the discussion with some promising present and future journalists doing great job for Mother Ghana, putting their lives at risk. They just shared what they've gone through so far as their safety and protection. To some extent, their families are concerned, just to make sure that they get you the news and the information that you need to hear. So we are joined, all of them are via Zoom, three wonderful journalists. William Evansinkum is the Bureau Chief for the Northern Sector for Media General. And we also have Emmanuel Bright Kweku is also a journalist with multimedia. And then you just heard Philip 𝗟𝗜𝗘 is an investigative journalist and also a fact checker with the Media Foundation for West Africa. So they are helping us, and Evans is with Media General and sharing their thoughts and experience on the press space and how their work pans. Gentlemen, let me just use this few minutes to run through this. Let's look at media ethics and responsibility. Some of us media people have been accused of not fact-checking. We run in the moreover in the area of or in the era where we are having artificial intelligence, the speed at which you want to put information out, thereby misrepresenting. So misinformation has been one of the huge allegations against the media. How are your organizations, or you yourself as journalists in practice, how do you balance ethics and responsibility? Evans, if you may.
Okay, so, all right. So I always say that there's a thin line between ethics. You call it responsibility, I call it common sense. It is not every information that you're supposed to put it in the public domain. For instance, when you are covering from a conflict zone, we have a responsibility to also be contributors to ending the conflict in that particular zone. And I only want to mention any area as far as our conversation is concerned. It is not everything that you have to put it there. So they say that it is not every truth that you have to say. Okay? Saying it doesn't mean that you are keeping it, doesn't mean that you are just sweeping it under the carpet. Well, 𝗟𝗓𝗪 𝗟𝗓𝗪 once said, keeping it safe, you are creating a world of utmost insecurity. Yes, I agree with anybody who dissents. But the fact of the matter is also that sometimes you need to keep it safe to save further the distractions. I quite remember in 2012, I was covering, when I covered the 2012 election, I came across a situation where one of the political party members, has been brutalized. It was so horrible. I happened to be the only media person there, the only journalist there, and I had this on tape. Quickly, I placed a call to my coordinator and told her that, look, we have this particular story, but you see, I fear, and that was my recommendation, I fear that if we should put this particular story on air, there's a possibility of reprisal. And it could change the whole face of the elections. All right? So what do you suggest? But if you ask my view, I would say that let's, keep it safe. Let's put it somewhere. Maybe we would want to push it to the security people so they take care of that. But I don't think we should put it on TV. So my coordinator also did a jaw on the sidelines. And then the agreement was that, no, we must not put this one on TV. So that particular story to date was never shown on TV. So ethically, probably you will say that I was wrong because I saw the truth and decided not to report it. But commonsensically, I was right because I saved an escalation. All right? So we have a responsibility to apply common sense. Sometimes ethics may be wrong. Common sense will save the situation. That is my simple answer to your question.
To my question, very well. So Emmanuel and Philip, just hold on. I will get back to you so that I also take your thoughts on this very question. But viewers, we have been looking at World Press Freedom Day. How free is the media in Ghana, as we are known or touted as a fourth estate of the realm, with that powerful thing to hold leadership accountable. So we have this wonderful journalists promising young men who are doing the best they could to make sure that we have a free society. You just heard William 𝗟𝗓𝗪. William 𝗟𝗓𝗪 is a journalist with Media General. He is the Northern Sector Bureau Chief. We also have a journalist from Multimedia, Emmanuel 𝗟𝗟𝗪, and then Philip 𝗟𝗪𝗪 𝗟𝗟𝗪𝗪. Philip 𝗟𝗪𝗪 is an investigative journalist and a fact checker with the Media Foundation for West Africa. I'll take a quick break, and when we are back, we will look at the other interesting part of the discussion. Don't move yet.
distinguished patronage of our founding churches, the Methodist, Presbyterian, Anglican, the Evangelical Presbyterian, the AME Zion, and other affiliate churches of Ghana, the Boys and Girls Brigade Councils of Ghana present the Brigades Hour. Hallelujah! A stimulating and instructive hour-long, made-for-you TV magazine extravaganza featuring lively archival recap of the history of the Boys and Girls Brigades as international and domestic ecumenical, non-denominational, regimented Christian organizations. Join us on the extensive journey of discovery of the 4 core pillars of all our programs: the physicality of our camping, expedition, and drills, the spiritually uplifting praise, worship, and intensive Bible study for all our boys and girls in our company meetings, highly educational content of our artificial intelligence and robotic contact sessions for all our boys and girls, and our extensive basic and command courses for all our officers. As for the social fit and balance, we rely on recreation, sports, and our youth parliament. Take a cozy front seat and soak in our captivating segments: district, regional, and national reports, denominational reports, international briefs, and the frills and thrills Brigade Drills. Be interactive with us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and win excellent prizes on our monthly GB and BB quiz as you join us on phone. Is the Brigade Hour showing live on WTV and PCGTV on Wednesdays at these exclusive times. GB, seek, serve, follow Christ. BB, sure and steadfast. Brigades Hour. Oh, you dozen, Toffee.
Welcome back from the break. This is the State, and on the State today we are looking at World Press Freedom Day. World Press Freedom Day. We're asking the question: how free is the fourth estate of the realm? How free is the Ghanaian media? Press Freedom Day, and we've had interesting conversations. We have 3 wonderful journalists sharing their thoughts and their experiences with us on the show. Evans William Inkum is with the Media General. He is the bureau chief for the northern sector. We've also had Emmanuel Bright Kweku, who is with multimedia, also joining in the conversation. And then Philip Tay Agbovi. Philip Tay Agbovi is an investigative journalist and a fact checker with the Media Foundation for West Africa. The conversation has been very intriguing, but you've not lost that much. Maybe you have, but from where we have reached, you will still pick nuggets and that will help you follow the national conversation or discourse. Very, very, very. So before we left, we were looking at the ethics and responsibility, where lies in where journalists rushed the speed at which we put out information as against misinforming the public. So Philip, I'll just in a minute, if you may, where do we draw the line? Ivan said he will call it common sense, ethics and responsibility in our reporting.
Well, I mean, when the issue of artificial intelligence, the emergence of it and how it has taken over the world, the conversation has been that, is it not coming to take the work from journalists? Is it not? Because if I can, now I have the news. You don't even wait for a radio station to, put the story there, a TV station. The news is on social media and all that, and then the conversation has been ongoing. But in this period, this is where the issue of fact-checking and investigative journalism, must be at its peak. Because in front of WTV in Adabraka right now, if an accident happens, if you don't take care, it will be reported on social media before you even prepare and come on air to come and, you know, report it, even though it happened in front of your facility. So this is where we have to make sure that, what if you rush and put it out there and it's not the truth? What do you do? And as journalists, all we have that we normally say is our credibility, our integrity. And once people, even if it's one person, there's a saying that if it's one person that believes in the story that you do, continue to serve that person. So imagine you don't even know who you have, who like what you do, who have been depending on you for news, and then you go do something else and you lose that one person. So this is the time where you have to relax, get it right, and then put it out there. That's what we do at Fact Check Ghana and then the Fourth Estate. We will dig and dig again, and then we put it out there. I mean, at the end of the day, we are human beings. Once in our ethics, we have it. Once you get it wrong at the earliest possible time, you rectify it. That is it. But at no point in time do you have to put any story out there that will later come and say that, oh, it is false, it is true. You just have to take your time, throw speed away, focus on accuracy, get it right, and put it out there, and I think we'll be safe. The issue of artificial intelligence, I mean, I always say that artificial intelligence will help you to catch artificial intelligence. So it's just about, you know, a matter of we building our capacity. People can do deep fake using AI. You can use the same AI to detect that is, you know, deep fake. So it's just about we getting it right before putting it out there, because social media is, and this is where the role of and it should be scary if the traditional media is getting it wrong, because the development of the social media is just development of information, you know, disorder. People distorting information deliberately or, you know, not deliberately, using AI. So with the traditional media, we have the duty to ensure that, you know, we go through it, we make sure that this is the fact and only the fact before we put it out. And I think we should just forget about speed, because what if you rush and you put it out there and, you know, the verdict is that it's not the truth? People will not pay attention to your outlet again.
Exactly.
So I believe that if social media is getting it wrong, with the traditional media should not do that. And this is the period where we have to entertain fact-checking, investigative journalism, you know, and make sure that we get the fact right, because we are the only credible source of information today. Because everything is on social media, whether it's true or false, people are forwarding it without knowing. So we have that gatekeeping role, and I think we don't have to play with it.
Very well, very well, very well. So, gentlemen, let me ask you this. Emmanuel, in a minute, what's your thoughts on ethics and responsibility?
So I would say that even as we report as journalists, we must always abide by what makes us the journalists. It's your credibility, your accuracy. And this will all boil down to the fact that you are verifying whatever information you are putting out there for your audience to know. There have been times where even the media themselves, I think it was with the Chef Smith issue, where he said he had won the world, the Guinness Book of Record and all of that, the issues that came up with it. You realize how susceptible the media was at the time. Even when we came back to report it ourselves, you realize that the rush of we putting out information, I am the first to put out this information out there, sometimes compromises our work as journalists. And that's where it brings about all the attacks that we are having from other people. So as media or journalists ourselves, we must always ensure that we verify again before we put out information out there for the public to consume. I'm sure even you as an individual, and somebody tells you a lie, you will not be happy about it. So if you as a journalist, it's your core duty to put an information that is credible out there for the people to consume. And also, I think during the election time, I did a fact check about one of the presidential candidates. And after it was done, I realized that the people who actually were attacking me on social media, they had they had it wrong, because I had put my information before. It was about the food security issue in Ghana, whether Ghana was the first or not in sub-Saharan Africa. And sometimes when you put, because you are standing on the ground, you have your information, you have your data backing what you are putting there. When it comes to some of these attacks, you are able to rebut them. So if you are not able to draw the thin line between your ethics and responsibilities as a journalist, it becomes very difficult. So as William Evans Inkum also said, if you know the information you're putting out there can actually exacerbate a conflict or something, you would probably have to balance it out so that it serves the interests of both parties. You balance it out and even leave the public to judge, not you as an individual. You leave your public, your audience to judge. So for me, ethics, while even as we talk about this issue, and also even with the media organizations, I think we are having some emerging traditional media. They are actually speculating misinformation. And I think the NMC or the National Media Commission has to come in and address some of these issues. So the ethics as individuals, as journalists, and we have to uphold them regardless of the era we are now.
Very well. Very well. Gentlemen, I'm going to squeeze you. I'm just giving you 15 seconds each to react to the perception that the conditions of service of journalists are not good. So you are not independent. You are subject to corporate influence, to individuals giving you perks and all that. What is your condition of service? Is it and maybe your professional development? 30 seconds each. Evans. Does journalism pay?
I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes, Evans, we can hear you.
All right. So you see, it depends on the media house that you're working with. Media General, as far as my condition of service is concerned, I have no cause to complain, at least for now. I think it's good. I mean, they are doing well.
You are doing very well. Okay, your professional
we know that in other setups, it is not like that. So it depends. I know that in some media houses, it is not the best. I mean, we've been hearing stories, I mean, and partly influencing some journalists to also indulge in things that you consider to be unprofessional.
Very well. Emmanuel, condition
so for me, I think fairly the amount I would say, well, it's okay, but the reports that have been out there, even by the Media Foundation for West Africa, when it comes to the salaries journalists receive in this country, and you know, sometimes it's not commensurate with what we do as journalists, because you are risking your life to get an information and put it out there to serve the interests of this country in terms of development and all of that. And if you are not being paid well, and when you have an offer from somebody or an external force, easily some of these journalists can just receive those money and then push the story that they have that could actually serve the interests of the country. But as a journalist, as we always say, your ethics is what matters.
It matters.
The public interest is what matters.
Very
so
well.
regardless of you not getting any amount of money, you have to serve the interest of the company.
Very well. Philip.
Well, I mean, that is a very good question, and it's a general concern of many journalists in Ghana today. But I mean, over the years, the commitment has not been there. I think this government has the policy of the Media Development Fund. We don't know how it's going to be and stuff like that. But we need a situation where the GJA, GIBA and PREPAG are coming together to ensure that, there is that strict implementation to ensure that journalists, from experience with the kind of, we are just talking about safety of journalists and all that. If you don't have the passion for the work, you cannot do it. So people normally say that journalism is a calling and a whole lot. But the journalist must eat. The journalist has needs and all that. That does not also mean that you have to compromise, on your ethics and your profession to make money. And because you are going to get that news for many Ghanaians, you are going to put that news there. You are going to hold many people accountable. So if you go taking money, the the people have been silenced already, and you, the mouthpiece, you are getting yourself silenced. So it's just about standards, and we're not compromising on our, ethics and a whole lot. But we should have that commitment from our organizations, the state, where they ensure that when there is that commitment, they put pressure on your media houses, and many journalists, will be paid well to do their work. But despite that, go for the news if it is in the public interest. Take the news undiluted and give to the people.
Yeah.
Forget about, and even doing those things, when you are doing credible news in Ghana, it doesn't matter how much they pay you. It opens so many doors for you, and then later bigger opportunities and bigger monies will come. It's just about giving the news the way it is.
Very well, Philip. So gentlemen, so grateful. Concluding remarks. A minute each. Evans, your concluding remarks.
I think it has been a very fruitful discussion. A lot of exposures, but it still remains factual that we need to improve on media index, especially as far as Ghana is concerned. We are growing in democracy. We also need to grow in tolerance. I'm happy that we have the RTI, but it still has some level of challenges. I believe that going forward, it has to start from somewhere. So I believe that going forward, there's going to be much more improvement.
Thank you very much, Evans. Emmanuel, in a few seconds.
Okay, so I would say that my concern is about the justice delivery in the country when it comes to matters of these issues like this. I know my colleague 𝗟𝗜𝗘𝗘 has an issue at the courts, and you look at how they are not expediting processes to have the state and serve him with the justice that he needs. It's a worry. Even Ahmed Swali, up until now, we've not really had any issue. We've not come to the conclusion of this matter. So for me, if anything to protect the journalists at all, our justice delivery system must work and ensure that the journalists themselves, they are safe, so that anybody who actually attacks the journalists will know that there are actually laws protecting them and will not go scot-free without giving them meting out the proper punishment they need.
Very well. Philip, last bite in a second.
Well, for me, thank you for the opportunity. And for me, I would say that people are allowed to hold public offices. Nobody forces anybody to go for positions, So once they're allowed to do whatever they want to do, journalists should be allowed to do their work, because we believe that one of the greatest pillars of democracy is journalism, is the press. So we should be allowed free. Now, when people even hear that you are doing a story about them, you've not heard the story, you've not published, they'll go and put an injunction on it. So our court system should improve in such a way that when they bring issues of the press to them, they are able to give, the real justice, the real verdict, so that journalists will be able to, do their work. And also,
thank you very much, gentlemen. We are so grateful that you could join us. We've looked at freedom of the World Press Freedom Day, and then we've had 3 wonderful journalists, young men, promising, sacrificing just to make sure we have the right news and information that we have. William Evans Inkum, who is with Media General, he is the bureau chief for the Northern Sector. We also had Emmanuel Bright-Kweku. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku is a journalist with the multimedia group. And you just heard lastly Philip 𝗟𝗟𝗘𝗓. He is an investigative journalist and a fact checker with the Media Foundation for West Africa, bringing us up to speed. My name is Gabriel Newtu Ankra. Thank you for joining us.